The sun had barely risen over the hills of my small village when I gathered my tools and headed to the farm. This morning ritual was more than a habit. It was a sacred connection to the land that had nurtured generations of my family. The soft hues of gold and pink stretched across the sky like a painter's masterpiece, a quiet reminder that every day held a fresh promise. The cool morning air carried the earthy aroma of dew-kissed grass, and as I inhaled deeply, it felt as though nature itself welcomed me to another day of toil and quiet joy. The farm was my sanctuary, a living testament to the resilience and love of my ancestors. It wasn't merely a patch of land, it was a repository of stories, a piece of my family's soul. Each corner told a tale. The towering mango tree on the edge of the field held memories of my childhood, where I would sit for hours, watching my father guide the oxen through the soil. The shallow stream, its waters shimmering in the sunlight, had been our playground, where my siblings and I laughed and splashed away the sweltering afternoons. Though my body bore the marks of time, wrinkled hands and an aching back, I still found profound satisfaction in working the soil. The rhythmic sound of my hoe slicing through the earth was like a heartbeat, grounding me to the present. I marveled at the feel of the soil between my fingers, rich and dark, a reminder of the life it sustained. As I prepared the land for planting, I listened to the symphony of the farm, the steady hum of crickets, the crowing of a distant rooster, and the rustling leaves whispering secrets to the breeze. The farm wasn't just alive. It pulsed with a vibrant energy that filled me with purpose. Each seed I planted symbolized hope, a testament to faith in the cycles of life. I often paused to whisper quiet prayers, thanking the heavens for my strength and asking for bountiful harvests. The labor, though exhausting, never felt burdensome. Even in my solitude, the farm kept me company. The songs of the birds and the sun's gentle warmth on my back were companions that reminded me of the beauty in the simple things. Every now and then, I stopped to sip water from my clay pot, savoring the coolness that refreshed my parched throat. As the hours slipped by, my thoughts often wandered to Samuel, my grandson. The memories of him as a little boy running barefoot through these fields never failed to bring a smile to my face. Samuel represented the future, the continuation of our family's story. Although the city had taken him far away, I clung to the hope that he hadn't forgotten the roots that tethered him to this land. The farm was not just a place, it was home, and in its embrace, I felt an unbroken connection to the past and a fragile thread to the future. My small house, now quiet and empty, had become a reflection of my inner world. My children, once the heart of my days, had long since left for the city, chasing dreams that seemed so distant from this tranquil life. First, they returned often, bringing the bustling energy of urban life with them. But as years passed, their visits grew infrequent, the demands of city life slowly overshadowing the bonds of family. I told myself not to resent it. After all, they had their own journeys to follow. Yet, the ache of missing them, especially Samuel, was a constant presence in my heart. I still remembered the day he was born, his tiny fingers grasping mine as if promising never to let go. His laughter had once filled the house, brightening even the dullest days. As a child, Samuel and I shared an unbreakable bond. He followed me everywhere, his endless curiosity filling our hours with questions and stories. "Grandma, why does the rooster crow so early?" he had once asked with wide-eyed wonder. "To wake the sun," I replied, chuckling at his innocence. But time had taken him away. The city, with its allure and ceaseless demands, had claimed him as it had claimed my children. I often wondered if he remembered the tales I spun by the fire or the simple meals we shared beneath the mango tree. Did the rhythms of city life drown out those precious memories? Or did he carry them, as I did, tucked away like treasures? Some nights, as I sat by my window gazing at the starlit sky, I whispered prayers for him. I asked the heavens to keep him happy, safe, and grounded in the simple joys of his roots. The silence around me was both a comfort and a weight, a reminder of the passing years. Yet, I held on to hope that one day he would return, his laughter once again filling the spaces of my quiet life. That day came unexpectedly. The sun was high, casting sharp shadows as I worked near the cassava plot, clearing stubborn weeds with my machete. My back ached, but I paused only briefly, wiping the sweat from my brow. The distant sound of a motorbike caught my attention, its rumble growing louder along the dirt road. Few ventured this deep into the countryside without reason. I straightened, my heart quickening as the bike approached. When it stopped, the rider removed his helmet, and time seemed to stand still. It was Samuel. My hands trembled as I dropped my machete, rushing toward him with tears streaming down my face. "Grandma," he called, his voice carrying across the field. "Samuel, is it really you?" I cried, overwhelmed by disbelief and joy. He wrapped me in a tight embrace, his warmth chasing away the years of loneliness. "I missed you, Grandma," he said, his words like balm to my soul. In that moment, the farm, the silence, and the years apart melted away. The land had brought us back together, reminding me that no matter how far the world took him, our roots would always guide him home. The warmth of his hand in mine felt reassuring, grounding me in the moment. I held it gently, savoring the quiet strength and comfort it gave me, and led him slowly toward the shade of the old mango tree. The tree, with its thick trunk and sprawling branches, had stood as a silent witness to countless seasons of our lives. For decades, its broad canopy had offered shelter from the heat of the day, providing a peaceful retreat for generations of our family. Beneath its wide branches sat the wooden bench I had crafted myself many years ago. Weathered and worn but still sturdy, it had endured the test of time, just like I had. And there was something deeply comforting about sitting there with Samuel, reconnecting with the boy who had once been my little companion and who had now become a man. As we settled onto the bench, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves above us, creating a soft rustling sound that seemed to blend with the peaceful quiet of the afternoon. The shadows of the tree danced on the ground, and for a long moment, I simply watched him. He looked so different from the boy who had once run barefoot through the fields, carefree and full of life. His broad shoulders, now squared with the weight of the world, and his confident posture were the outward signs of a man who had grown and changed. Yet, when I looked into his eyes, those same warm, kind eyes I had known since he was small, I saw the boy I had always known. He was still my Samuel, no matter how much time had passed. "You've grown so much," I said softly, my voice thick with emotion. It was impossible to hide the awe I felt as I gazed at him. Samuel smiled, a quiet pride and humility reflected in his expression, as if he too were feeling the weight of the years that had come between us. "Life has been a journey, Grandma," he said, his voice rich with experience. "But I've missed this. I've missed you." The sincerity in his words wrapped around my heart like a warm embrace. We spent the next hour talking as though no time had passed at all. He told me about his life in the city, the fast-paced, bustling world that had become his reality. He spoke of the long days filled with meetings and deadlines, the constant juggling of work and studies, and the moments when he felt overwhelmed by the relentless noise of city life. There was a mix of excitement and exhaustion in his voice, and I could sense how thrilling, yet draining, life in the city had become for him. It seemed as though the world he had entered was constantly demanding more of him, leaving little room for rest or reflection. I listened intently, hanging on every word. "And your job?" I asked, leaning in slightly, genuinely curious. "Do you enjoy it?" He hesitated for a moment before responding, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture I had seen many times over the years when he was deep in thought. "It's rewarding, but not easy," he admitted. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm on the right path. There are days when I feel lost, when I question if I'm doing what I should be doing. But then, I remind myself why I started in the first place." His words were laced with both uncertainty and resolve, and I could see the inner struggle he was facing. I nodded, my heart swelling with pride and empathy. "You've always been determined, Samuel. Never forget that. It's okay to pause sometimes, to take a step back and think about what truly makes you happy." My voice softened, carrying the weight of years of wisdom and love. He looked at me with a mixture of admiration and vulnerability. as though I had just given him a key to something he had been searching for. "You always know the right thing to say, Grandma. It's like you see straight into my heart." His words filled me with a quiet joy, yet also brought a lump to my throat. I had missed these moments, sharing thoughts, offering guidance, and feeling that deep, unbreakable bond between us. As we continued to talk, the breeze seemed to play with his hair, and the sunlight filtered through the mango leaves, casting a warm, golden glow on his face. It was as though the whole world had paused for just a moment, giving us this rare and precious time together. The simplicity of the moment, the soft wind, the rustling leaves, the shared conversation felt like a gift, something to hold close and treasure. I asked him about his friends, his hobbies, and even his dreams. He spoke of the people he had met, the lessons he had learned, and the ambitions that kept him awake at night. There was a fire in his eyes as he talked about making a difference, about leaving his mark on the world. "I want to make a difference, Grandma," he said with quiet intensity, his voice steady and firm. "I want to leave the world better than I found it." "You already do," I replied, my voice filled with love and pride. "Just by being you." His words, so full of purpose and hope, warmed my heart and made me believe that, despite the challenges he faced, he would find his way. As the afternoon wore on and the shadows lengthened, our conversation took a deeper turn. Samuel asked me about my life, what I did each day, how I managed the farm, and whether I ever felt lonely. His concern for me, after all these years, touched me more than I could express. I reassured him that while life here could be quiet, it was also peaceful. There was a rhythm to the days that allowed me to reflect, to savor the small, simple moments that many people overlooked. "Peaceful? Yes," he said, his voice soft, as if he were considering my words carefully. "But no one should spend too much time alone." His concern was evident, and I smiled at his wisdom. "Sometimes, solitude can be a friend, Samuel," I said gently, patting his hand. "It gives you time to reflect, to appreciate the little things like this moment, right here, under this tree with you." The mango tree, with its broad branches reaching toward the sky, stood as a symbol of our shared history. It had witnessed the passage of time, the joys and sorrows of our family, and the changes in our lives. As I looked at Samuel, I realized that this moment, under the shade of the tree, was not just another passing afternoon. It was a piece of living history, a memory that would stay with me long after the day ended, one that would keep me company in the quiet days to come. "Grandma," Samuel said, breaking the silence, his voice tinged with regret. I realized I've been so busy chasing my dreams that I forgot to stay connected to the people who matter most. There was a hint of sorrow in his tone, a realization of how much time had passed without him truly appreciating the relationships that had shaped him. "Ah, my boy," I said, placing a hand on his. "Life has a way of pulling us in different directions, but what matters is that you found your way back." My words were simple, but they carried a lifetime of understanding. Samuel smiled softly and reached into his backpack. "I brought you something," he said, pulling out a small, carefully wrapped package and placing it in my hands. I unwrapped it slowly, revealing a beautiful scarf, its fabric soft and rich with color, and its intricate embroidery a testament to the care and thought he had put into choosing it. "For you, Grandma," he said with a smile. "I thought it would suit you." "It's lovely," I said, holding it close to my chest. "Thank you, Samuel. This means so much to me." After our conversation, Samuel insisted on helping me with the farm work. I laughed at the thought of him, a city boy, trying to navigate the world of agriculture, but his determination was touching. He rolled up his sleeves and joined me in the cassava field, awkwardly hacking at the weeds with a hoe. I couldn't help but chuckle at his clumsy efforts. "Grandma," he said, wiping the sweat from his brow, "this is harder than it looks. Farming is not for the faint-hearted," I replied, handing him a bottle of water. "But you're doing well for a first-timer." As the day drew to a close and the sun began to set, we continued to work side by side, our laughter echoing across the fields. felt like old times, as if the years of separation had dissolved, leaving only the warmth of our bond. By late afternoon, we were both tired but content, and I decided to prepare a special meal to celebrate his visit. We returned to the house, a modest mud brick structure surrounded by a small garden where the flowers bloomed in vibrant colors. In the kitchen, I began cooking Samuel's favorite dishes: jollof rice, crispy fried plantains, and spicy chicken. Samuel sat at the table, watching me with a smile that made my heart swell. "Grandma," he said, his voice full of affection, "your cooking is the best." I laughed, stirring the pot. "That's because it's made with love." When the meal was finally ready, we settled around the table to enjoy it. Samuel, with a look of contentment on his face, savored every bite, praising my cooking with each mouthful. His eyes sparkled with appreciation as he tasted the familiar flavors, memories of his childhood flooding back. "This is amazing, Grandma," he said between bites, a smile spreading across his face. "You haven't lost your touch." I laughed, pleased by his words, and continued to serve him more food. As we neared the end of the meal, a change came over Samuel. He grew unusually quiet, his once lively eyes now clouded with something I couldn't quite place. He placed his fork down gently and looked at me with a serious expression, as though contemplating something deeply important. The warmth in the room seemed to shrink as he spoke, his voice quieter than usual. "Grandma," he began, his tone careful, "there's something I need to tell you." I set my own fork down and leaned forward, giving him my full attention. The room was filled with the soft clinking of dishes and the faint rustle of the wind outside, but I didn't hear any of it. My focus was entirely on Samuel, the young man I had seen grow from a boy into the person before me now. "What is it, my boy?" I asked, my voice soft but filled with concern. He paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully, and then continued. "I've been feeling lost lately, Grandma. Life in the city, it's so fast-paced, so overwhelming. I came here not just to see you, but to find some clarity, to figure out what I'm supposed to do next." I nodded, my heart aching for him. The city can be harsh, Samuel. It pulls at you in so many directions, and sometimes you lose yourself in the noise and speed of it all. But sometimes, stepping away from the chaos, even for just a little while, helps us see what truly matters. He looked down, a faint frown crossing his face. "That's exactly why I'm here. Being on the farm, working alongside you, eating your food. It reminds me of who I really am and where I come from. It's like a piece of me I've forgotten. Everything in the city feels like a blur compared to this." Tears welled up in my eyes as I squeezed his hand, my voice trembling with emotion. "You are always welcome here, Samuel. This is your home, and I will always be here for you, no matter what." Samuel smiled at me then, a warmth spreading through his eyes that reflected the love and gratitude I felt in my heart. "Thank you, Grandma," he whispered. "Being here with you makes me remember what's really important in life. It's simple, but it's enough." We sat there in silence for a moment, allowing the tranquility of the farm to settle over us. Outside, the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sound of crickets began to fill the air, their song a gentle backdrop to our quiet evening. I had lit a small fire to ward off the coolness of the evening air, and we continued our conversation around it. As the night grew darker, Samuel leaned back in his chair, his face thoughtful. He had decided to stay the night, planning to leave early the next morning. I poured us each a cup of hot tea, the steam rising in delicate tendrils that mingled with the cool night air. "Tell me, my boy," I asked, wanting to know more about his life in the city. "Have you ever thought about settling down? Is there someone special in your life?" Samuel chuckled softly, rubbing the back of his neck in a gesture I knew well. He looked slightly shy, a rare vulnerability in his usually confident demeanor. "Not yet, Grandma," he admitted with a small laugh. "I've been so busy with work, trying to figure out my career, that I haven't had time to think about anything like that." I nodded, considering his words. It's important, Samuel, to find the right person, someone who will be with you through life's ups and downs. But don't let the busyness of the world stop you from finding happiness. Life isn't just about work, it's about the people we share it with. He smiled at me, his gaze softening. I know, Grandma, when the time is right, I'll know. But for now, I want to focus on building a life I can be proud of. We spoke late into the night, the conversation flowing freely between us. Samuel asked me about my younger days, and I shared stories from my past, memories of my childhood, the days when I courted his grandfather, and the joys and challenges of raising his mother. I could see the admiration in his eyes as he listened intently, laughing at the funny parts and nodding solemnly at the more serious moments. Grandma, he said, his voice filled with deep respect, you've lived such a full and beautiful life. I hope I can be as strong and wise as you one day. His words touched my heart, and I reached out to gently touch his cheek. You already are. Samuel, you have a good heart, and that will guide you through everything. Then, with a mischievous grin, he asked, Grandma, you always talk about family and the farm, but what about your love life? Did you ever have a great romance? I laughed softly, the question catching me off guard. I could feel my cheeks flush with warmth, and for a moment, I was unsure how to answer. Samuel, I said, my voice tinged with both humor and a touch of shyness. My life hasn't been as exciting as the stories I told you. Love was different in my time. I was married to your grandfather, and we shared a quiet, steady kind of love. He was a good man, but life wasn't always easy. Samuel leaned in closer, his smile gentle. But surely, Grandma, there were moments where your heart raced, where you felt something special. His question made me pause, and for a moment, I was lost in thought. I saw the warmth in his eyes, and it stirred something within me, a feeling I couldn't quite explain. Perhaps, I said softly, a wistful smile playing on my lips. But those days are long gone. He reached for my hand, holding it gently in his. Grandma, you deserve all the love in the world, even now. Before I could respond, he leaned in and kissed me on the cheek. His touch was soft, full of affection, and it made my heart swell with warmth. It was a simple gesture, but it held so much love and sincerity. I smiled through the tears that threatened to spill from my eyes. Thank you, Samuel. You've given me more love than I could ever ask for. He leaned back in his chair, his grin boyish and full of affection. You're the most amazing person I know. Grandma, never forget that. That moment passed, but it stayed with me. It was a memory I would cherish, a reminder that love comes in many forms, and sometimes the simplest gestures mean the most. Later that night, as Samuel drifted off to sleep on the old wooden bed in the guest room, I sat by the fire, reflecting on our conversation. My heart felt lighter than it had in years. His visit had reminded me of the unbreakable bond between us, a bond that no amount of time or distance could ever weaken. The next morning, as Samuel prepared to leave, I packed him a basket filled with fresh produce from the farm, cassava, yams, and a collection of ripe mangoes. Thank you, Grandma, he said, pulling me into a tight embrace. I promise I won't stay away for so long again. His words were heartfelt, and I knew he meant them. As he walked down the path, I watched him go, my heart full. I knew that no matter where life took him, he would always have a home here, with me. You'd better not, I replied with a warm smile, my voice soft yet firm. Remember, this land, this home, and everything here will always be waiting for you. It's your home too. As I watched Samuel ride off into the distance on his motorbike, my heart felt lighter than it had in years. His visit had been an unexpected, yet deeply welcomed reminder of what truly mattered: love, family, and the unspoken ties that bind us together, no matter how far apart we may be. From that day onward, Samuel kept his promise. Every week, without fail, he would call me, asking about the farm and how I was doing. His voice, filled with warmth and concern, became a comforting presence in my life, a constant reminder that, despite the miles between us, The bond we shared was alive and strong. Whenever his schedule allowed, he would visit the farm, bringing with him a sense of joy and renewal. Each visit brought us closer, the gap of years and distance narrowing with every conversation, every shared moment. Samuel's commitment to staying in touch, to being there, made me feel as though I was never truly alone. I often found myself reflecting on that day, the day Samuel surprised me with his visit. It wasn't just a simple gesture. It was a pivotal moment in my life, one that shifted the way I saw the future. That day was a reminder that no matter how far life takes us or how much time passes, the ties of family, the love we share, are never truly broken. They remain, hidden but unshakable, always waiting to be rediscovered. As the seasons changed and the rhythms of farm life continued, I worked the fields with a renewed sense of purpose. The soil beneath my hands, the steady rhythm of my work, felt different now. Each seed I planted and each row I tended was a reminder that I was not alone in this world. My grandson had found his way back to me, both in body and spirit, and for that, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. It was as though his love had breathed new life into me, filling the spaces in my heart that had once felt so empty. In the quiet moments, when I sat beneath the shade of the mango tree, my thoughts often drifted back to that unforgettable day. It wasn't just a visit, it was a turning point, a powerful reminder of the enduring strength of family ties. The mango tree, once just a quiet corner of the farm, had become a place of deep reflection. It was there that I could still feel Samuel's presence, almost as if he were sitting beside me, sharing stories, laughing, and talking about the future. The bench under the tree became a sacred spot, a place to reconnect with the love and memories we had shared. I often found myself smiling to myself, imagining his laughter echoing in the air, and his eyes kind, full of warmth, shining brightly in my memory. With each passing season, I worked with more energy, more conviction. The farm, which had once felt like a quiet retreat, now felt alive with purpose. Samuel's visits had awakened something inside of me, a new sense of vitality that I had long forgotten. I no longer felt the weight of loneliness hanging over me like a heavy cloud. It was as if his love had filled the empty spaces, brightening even the darkest corners of my heart. Some days, when the sky was clear and the air was still, I would imagine Samuel walking down the path again, his motorbike parked by the old oak tree, his smile as radiant as the morning sun. In my mind, I could hear his voice calling out to me, "Grandma, I'm here." Just as he had that unforgettable day, those thoughts gave me a sense of hope and anticipation, a promise that no matter where life took us, our connection would remain. Though Samuel had returned to his life in the city, he never forgot about me. Our calls continued, and every time the phone rang with his name, my heart skipped a beat. "How's the farm, Grandma?" he would ask, his voice full of concern. "Are you taking care of yourself?" His words, simple yet filled with genuine care, brought me so much joy. "Don't you worry about me," I chuckle in reply. This old farm keeps me young. But it wasn't just the calls themselves, it was the love behind them that mattered. It was the knowledge that no matter how far life had taken him, I was still in his thoughts, still a part of his life. Samuel had found his way back to me, not just physically but emotionally too. That thought, more than anything, filled me with peace. The days on the farm grew brighter, the nights more peaceful, and I began to notice the small, beautiful things that I had once overlooked. The soft rustle of leaves in the wind, the cheerful songs of birds perched in the trees, the way the earth smelled after a gentle rain. Each moment seemed more vivid, more precious. It was as though Samuel's visit had opened my eyes to the beauty in everyday life, reminding me that even the simplest moments were worth cherishing. As the seasons passed, I continued to work the land, but with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit strengthened by the love of my family. The farm, which had once been a place of solitude, now felt alive with purpose and connection. Samuel's visit had given me a gift far greater than he could ever realize, a reason to keep going, to believe in the strength of love, and to trust that family could heal even the deepest wounds. In those quiet moments, As I worked the soil or sat beneath the shade of the mango tree, I would often whisper a prayer of thanks, lifting my eyes to the sky. Thank you, Lord, for bringing him back to me. I'd say with a full heart, and thank you for reminding me of what truly matters. No matter where life took us, whether near or far, I knew one thing for certain: the ties of family are unbreakable, and the love we share is the greatest blessing of all. Thank you for taking the time to watch our videos. If you find the content useful and interesting, don't forget to like, share, and especially subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. Our channel will always update attractive, inspiring, and useful content for you. Click the bell icon to receive notifications as soon as there are new videos. Your support is the biggest motivation for us to continue to develop. Thank you and see you in the next videos.